Hey, Asia, so nice for you to be here with me.
It's a good.
Yeah, so everybody listening, I've got Asia Stribling here. Now, let me just give a little context. This is crazy. This is like one of my favorite stories in my process of doing this film that I got to meet and get to know a cousin I never knew existed. So here we have Asia is the granddaughter of my Aunt Barbara, who is my grandmother's niece. Right. So yeah.
Yeah, that's what it
Well,
is.
yeah, right.
Hey, how are
We have
you?
the same, we
Hello.
have our grandparents are no,
Are
your great grandma and my grandma were sisters.
are oh yeah, that's so crazy that you were doing this film and in the midst of you finding that out and then being able to come visit us on top of all that so we could see each other, spend time together, just learn more. I think that's really crazy and unique. Like that was a good thing that needed to happen.
Yeah. Did you know that we existed on our side? Like, did you know about this other part of the family?
No, no, I did not. I really don't. I probably I probably met the other side of my family, the Asian side of my family once or twice. I was really young because I went to California one time. It was for my great grandma's, I want to say 90th or 90 something
Yeah,
birthday.
sounds
And
about
that's when
right.
I met a lot of them. But I was probably only 8. Other than that, it's always been my grandma, obviously. I always was really close to her. Other than that, no, I didn't know. I did not know.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy? Like, isn't it
That
crazy to
is,
not know like a big half of your family?
yes, I think it is. I definitely still want to get to know them, like now that I'm older and can travel on my own. And like talk to them. So, I got to see you guys. And I know a lot of them stay in California still. So I definitely still want to be able to meet and talk to them as I get older. So maybe even my children can be maybe closer to them than I was.
I love that. I love that you're already thinking for the next generation. That's
Mhm.
beautiful. So you're in Mississippi. You born and bred in Gulfport, is that right?
Well, I was born in Hattiesburg, which is just an hour from Gulfport, but pretty much raised in Gulfport. I moved here when I was 5, so pretty much I've been here all my life.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'd never been to Mississippi before I had get the chance to
Oh
meet you and your
yeah.
family. So it's great. Um, so I wanted to talk to you about several things,
Mhm.
including hair, because I know you love doing hair. But
Yes.
before we do that, I just wanted to tell our listeners that you are in our film. You talk and you have, to me, in my opinion, one of the most poignant, important kind of moments in the film because
Mhm.
you, and this was a couple of years ago, right? Already, and you already
Yes.
had this idea and these uncomfortable thoughts about how the
Mhm.
Chinese fit into this and why they don't fit into black space and vice versa, like these
Yeah.
kind of weird things. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I know during the film, I remember mentioning how I had a friend, she was Cambodian, and how she was just telling me if she got darker in the summer, it was like, why are you dark? Why do you look like that? Or things like that. And just now that I'm even older, you see different things. It's like we're not sure where they fall into how they feel about us sometimes because a lot of Asians, especially, well, really everywhere, they own a lot of the stores, and honestly they, like, for instance, like hair stores that sell everything black women. That's what we call them, hair store. Even if they have like a name, they're usually called hair beauty supply. They're all owned by Asians, and all of the hair products cater to black people, black women. There's edge control, weave, everything. Just and that's more so what African Americans wear, a lot of things. So we like to think, okay, you guys are catering to us. That's really nice. Or we're thinking, is it more so for the money side? Because we're gonna buy your product because and it's handy. They're open really early and then they close pretty late, so we're able to go. Um, I just feel like I don't know. I feel actually, honestly, someone actually told me this. So I think people put a lot of prejudgment on different races. So, you know, there's stereotypes for this person and this person. So they may look at us like they prejudge us before. And then, for instance, they may hear me talk or just have a conversation. And then it kind of like not takes them aback, but they kind of like, oh, okay. Well, maybe not all of them are that bad. Cause just even me, I've had people tell me like, oh, Asia, well, you know, you're not like all of them. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, what do you mean all of them? Or
Yeah.
just a lot of prejudgment. And I'll say it happens with both sides. Black people
Yes.
probably do the same thing.
Exactly.
But once someone talks to you, I just feel like everyone should definitely just not, don't be hesitant to talk to people of not your own kind, because you might learn a lot. Just watching this film as well, like I told you, I learned a lot just from watching it. So I think people just should put the stigma down and just be more open to everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of misconceptions and prejudgments always tend to come from a lack of understanding. Like if you don't have friends but then there are all these like problematic ways of looking at it. Like you have, you hear people saying, oh yeah, I have a Black friend or I have a Chinese friend. Like that's
Yeah.
supposed to check that box or something.
Yeah, I thought about that the other day. Like a lot of people, oh, I have Black friends. And I thought to myself, it's kind of like, me personally, there would never be an instance where I would have to say that about one of my friends. Like, obviously this is different because we're talking about this, but I've never been in conversation where I had to be like, oh, well, I have Chinese friends or I have white, like that never, I never had to come out. So, and even if you do, what does that make different?
Exactly.
Like, it's really weird. It's
If anything,
weird.
it exposes the more racist side of the kind of attitudes of people of color and different communities.
Definitely,
Right?
definitely. It definitely makes you look at them a little bit differently when they say that, because
Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird to me.
Yeah. And honestly, if I hadn't gone on this journey to do this film, I wouldn't have had so many troubling thoughts about how our racial systems built on this whole white supremacist structure. And it just bothers me so much because I think the problem is a lot of people don't really realize how it's been built, right? So even today, like you're saying, a lot of Asians, and I think you're talking specifically about the Korean community, right? Who kind of monopolize the hair industry for Black people. And I don't have the knowledge to know how that developed, but it's kind of similar, like you said, to the grocery store era, like with the Chinese monopolizing that in some areas, right? So like they bring in all their families and community in, and then they tick the whole territory. And like you said, we profit off of Black people, and people think, oh yeah, we have a symbiotic relationship. We're friendly, but it's not quite that simple.
Yeah, like in the film, they're in the area, we're in the same area where Black and Asian, well, obviously we could still live different places now, but your stores are maybe in more Black dominated areas. And like you said, you're selling to us. Even with we have some gas stations that are also in certain areas, also owned by Asians as well. So like you said, it makes you think, okay, you're catering to us, or are we friends? Or not friends, but do we like each other? Do you like us? Should we even feel like we should support you by giving you our money at these stores, because we really don't know what your intentions are, but we still do it because it's convenient. And most people don't have anything that I know against shopping with them anyway, but it's just a thought in the back of our minds that we think about.
Yeah, because it's the system. It's like it's set up. Why is the system set up to not allow the Black community to move up and grow a lot of in businesses?
Yeah. It definitely is crazy. And like coming from a person of color, we think like, why would y'all not want us to move up and just be up there, knowing what we've went through, what our ancestors or my ancestors have endured, now that segregation has ended, and we're a lot of years past it now, but a lot of people don't think it's also, well, we're thinking, why don't we move up? But then we also have to think it was only 50 years ago, people were still segregated and still doing these things. That's not a long time.
No.
So these people are still alive that were in that era when this was happening. So, and also, like I was saying, you know, they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. You can sometimes. So I still think everyone should, the people who were in that era and like, this is new, like the world's changing. It's not going to go back to that. You know, that's just something that's not going to happen again. I understand you may be used to that. Like I was saying about my grandmother, well, my great grandma, not my grandmother.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to learn to be more open. Just even like I said, with the store, don't be so hesitant. Don't see how people are. Just be more open. It just all falls all together with the same thing.
Yeah. You have to break down those boundaries. You have to start somewhere, even if it's a simple conversation, and, you know, finding out, like exchanging notes on who ate what for lunch. I mean, just sometimes those little things open up real
conversation. Definitely. Or just, you know, me, what I noticed is also, well, that's not just catered to Black women, but you know, a lot of Asians own nail salons. I'll end up talking to them, and it's so funny because they'll just be talking to me, and then they'll ask me about myself, and then I mention how I'm Chinese or I'm mixed with Chinese.
Right.
They're always like,
"What?
Really?
Where?"
And I'm like, yeah, they're like, "Really?" I'm like, "Yeah, my grandma is." And they always want to see her. They always want me to show, like,
they don't believe you.
Yes, I'm like, either, I don't know, is it they don't believe me, or they're like, let me see, is your grandma, is she a mixed Chinese, or like,
Right.
and I'm like, no, she's a 100%. And I always show them, and then I show my mom so they can like see kind of like the difference, my grandma, mom, and me.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh wow, like everyone's always so shocked. Even my manager at my old job, he was shocked, and he was like, oh my gosh, tell your grandma come down here and everything. So I think it's so funny, like you said, just once I even say that, they seem to have a connect with me a little more just off of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people are like that, like not even you just having to get to know them, but like a lot of people, you know, I have a lot of Blasian, that's what we like to call it, friends. So even though a lot of us may not even look like it, once we tell people, they're just real shocked and they intrigued and want to know more. And then for me, especially Asian people, they want to know like a lot more once I tell them that.
Yeah. And it's interesting because you embody this mixed space, right? So it's, you know, how you think about your identity and how you connect to both sides is really, really a powerful place to be, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you maybe almost have a responsibility to bring these conversations together just through who you are.
Yeah, that is very true. Just off of me being mixed with Chinese, I would say it definitely has made me want to know about both sides, like both cultures. I know, you know, people who may just be, you know, African American, Hispanic, just one race, they kind of stick to what they know because the other cultures don't involve them. So I really do like that. Even just learning about Chinese New Year, it's like a lot of people know it's on a different date than the American New Year, or it's just totally different. Just
have you heard that when you well, traditional Chinese, when you give birth, you're not supposed to wash your hair for like the first, I don't know how many days. Have you heard that before?
I've never heard that. Why is that?
So Chinese believe that a lot of the, you know, the air outside seeps in through the pores in your head, and you're more exposed after you give birth.
Right.
And so you have to keep your head warm and dry. And that's why I don't want to assume everybody, but people who have headaches when they get older and they have complications in their body and they feel cold or uncomfortable, sometimes, you know, Chinese believe that it's from these things, these exposures to cold elements. You want to keep yourself the chi inside, right? So it's kind of cool to like learn from different cultures, different things.
It is. I love learning about everything. It's like I always am learning something new.
Yeah.
Definitely want to be able to visit Asia soon too, just to also see the difference, because you know I can hear traditions, but I'm sure living styles are way different. But
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
anywhere. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I do want to see that for myself and see how that is for
Yeah,
sure.
I encourage anybody to be able to travel off and see things for themselves because you can't learn from the history books, that's for sure. Look,
No,
we don't even know about the Chinese in the South. I mean, that's just so crazy, right? We have to change that.
yeah,
But I want to get back to hair because I think a
yeah,
lot of Chinese people or just maybe non-Black people have a misconception or have this curiosity about hair that kind of feeds into this kind of complex space where it's like, okay, that's a touchy subject. You have to know how to approach it. You can't,
yeah.
say certain things. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you feel and why you love doing hair?
Yeah. So I, for me personally, I always have done hair. Even if wigs weren't as popular as they are now. So obviously I didn't start with that. But people just kind of have passion. So I know ever since I was little, I would say about 13, 14 is probably when I started dabbling in hair. I had friends around that they were my test dummies. This was before I was, working, doing hair. So if they wanted to try something, I was always wanting to do it. Just different hairstyles, even dyeing hair. I had a friend. She was like, "Yeah, I just want to try blue." I was like, "All right, come on, let's do it. Let's dye your hair blue or braids." I didn't really get too much into braids, like box braids and different kind of things like that, because that just takes a really long time to do. And I commend the people who can sit there for 8 hours and put a full head of braids in your hair.
I don't know how people sit through
Yeah.
that. That's crazy. 8 hours.
Oh,
Wow.
definitely. I just took some braids out because I changed my hair for my birthday. Oh yeah, but I know my braids just alone took about 3 or 4 hours, and
Still though.
I can't sit there and stand and do it. So I commend the people who did that.
Okay,
I
but
always
is there a
want
reason why people like to do braids? Is it just because it's cleaner, like it's you don't have to deal with all the mess or the
I wouldn't say that. I don't think there's a reason people, if anything, I think people would pick braids more, not braids, more wigs, or just dealing with hairstyles, cutting hair or dyeing actual bundles of hair than like having to sit and braid, because it is faster to do something like this. It definitely doesn't take that long. I think people, like you said, people just have more like different passions, different interests. Like some people just lean, like it doesn't hurt them to stand up for 8 hours a day. Or it's braiding is also an art. I'm sure no we have actual like African braiding shops where the African, we call them the Africans, they braid hair, they do that more. And I don't know, a lot of people know, like, braids kind of originated from African Americans putting trails, and like that was showing how this was more in segregation days. They braided to make ways of how to get out, like, because we didn't have maps or anything. So braiding was actually made for, okay, we'll go, this is how we're going to get out, this is what you need to do.
oh my goodness.
So I think some people who that maybe it's more of a culture thing and it's embedded in them. That's something they just hold close to them. So that's just what they kind of just want to keep that in their family. I would say, and some people just like doing it. They're just like me. I just always had a passion for actually dyeing hair, cutting, curling, making someone look different with like bundles of hair. And more people just have a passion for maybe braids, and they just
Right.
like that more. Yeah, I wouldn't say it's really a big difference on why. It's just whatever you lean more toward to
But
do.
still, I mean, there is the racial history element that you just said, from
Oh
slavery.
yeah.
So, the concept of hair is still haunted by the past,
Oh
But
yeah.
have you ever felt like you didn't like your hair, then that's why you wanted to do something with it? Some people, oh gosh, I have so much hair. I have friends who have like these, thick hair, and I think it's beautiful, but then like they want to have a way to control it. Just
I would I personally, with me, and I'm not saying this is with all African Americans or people, or Black people or African Americans. I feel like definitely me being mixed has a lot to do with the texture of my hair. It's, you can't see it right now because I have a wig on, but just with me being mixed, I feel like it definitely has well, my hair is a lot looser. The curls are a lot looser. So me personally, I have always liked my hair. I've never wanted, if anything, and I know honestly a lot of more, I think people more so mixed with Black and white. Well, even some just Black women, but I know a lot of mixed with Black and white. we actually grew up, because honestly, I don't know if people know, natural really wasn't, I don't want to say trending. It wasn't in when I was in like middle school, high
Yeah,
school.
yeah,
It wasn't like a thing to have big natural hair. It wasn't as loved and appreciated. So a lot of people didn't do it.
right.
Um, for me, I've always liked my hair, if anything, I used to always get my hair straightened, like first day of school, like, everyone gets their hair done first day of school. That was my go-to hairstyle, straightened, because that's just what I liked. And my hair, was really long too. So I just really liked it like that. And that caused me to, and this is a lot of Black women's story. We got heat damage, they got perms to loosen the texture of their curl and then straighten it, because that is the standard of beauty. It's prettier to look like that.
Right.
To
So
have,
what does it mean to be prettier? Like, is it because it's straighter that's more associated with like white hair? Like, I mean, like, where is it coming from, right? This idea of that kind of sense of
I
beauty
would
standard.
I would say with just straight, I don't even want to say, well, and it probably does go back to the European beauty standard, just having straight, pretty hair. I think it's more so what I think is just that's the feminine beauty standard, to have straight hair. Now, I will say when we go into different colors, for instance, I've done blonde hair before. And I've heard it's kind of ignorant to me, in my opinion. People are like, well, I don't. Okay, so a lot of black people do not like when people not of color get box braids, because, like I said, they originate to a culture,
Yeah. It's
and
the
just
cultural
like
appropriation, right? Yeah.
yeah, cultural appropriation, or just like any culture wouldn't want you doing something that's, or they may not even know about, because there's a difference in cultural appropriation and cultural appreciation.
Right.
So it's a
Yeah.
thin
There's a
line.
fine
You
line.
got you
Yeah.
got to know where to cross it and what's okay.
Yes.
But for instance, I've heard uh people not of color say, or just people ignorant on the fact, getting blonde wigs for Black girls is the same as white girls or people of color getting box braids. And I'm like, do you hear yourself? I don't
No.
know if people know, there are Black people, African American people, more located really in Australia, that are born with blonde hair and blue eyes. That's not a culture. Like, they have bright blonde hair and bright blue eyes, and they all look like that. Blonde hair is not a culture, it's a hair color. And a Black person can be born with it. Like, it's not never seen. Braids are optional. Braids are a culture thing. Braids trace back. So it's not even the same thing. So people say, I'm like, no. And it's hair color, like, or they think, what, y'all want to look like us? No, wigs are protective styles, and they're a way to embrace yourself. Am I copying Ginger's? Because
I
I
know.
dyed my
Right.
hair.
Yeah.
Am I, it's a way to express yourself, a way to look different. And like you said, wigs are protected. My hair is braided under here, and braids help your hair grow. And a lot,
Mhm.
to society, it seems like they say Black women, it takes their hair longer to grow, or it may not as be easy as different people. So this is a way for us to, like, not manipulating our hair is what helps it grow. So literally not touching it is what helps our hair. And so, except my mom, and my mom hair grows like this. I don't know how. And my
Like wild
sister, their
grass.
hair grows like this.
Yeah.
But for people, for me, like, my hair does grow, but I have noticed when I wore wigs I took little breaks before a year straight. When I first got into it, that's when my hair grew. As I've been older, the quickest. I saw the quickest growth, and it got super long because I was not touching it, not manipulating it, and it just grew.
Right.
That's why I like to wear them. So I know a lot of the time, even me, I hear, Israel, your hair is so pretty. Why do you wear wigs? Well, it might be pretty. Are you gonna do it? I still have to get up and
The
touch it
work
and do
behind
it
it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
comb it. And this, I literally can wake up, straighten it, and walk out the door. I don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
So
No, I admire I mean, like, I sometimes when I just go on Facebook and I see the different styles you have and all the things that you're doing with other people, it's just really, it's inspiring to see that effort and the creativity that you have. It's an art form. And so what are your what are your goals and dreams? And I want to know, like, a final comment on, like, how do you, if you had the power to change the way things were structured in terms of like the hair industry and your involvement with it, what would it be?
I would say, and and this is actually already being done with other women. Me in the hair industry, I know a lot of Black women. So I think hair types. So there are hair types and they have different names. So I think it goes from like A B all the way to 4C, and 4C would be the curliest of the kinkiest type hair. I know I fall in the 3A, 3B line somewhere. But more so to my peers who have the more 4A, the 4A, 4B, 4C, which is the fours, it starts to get a lot curlier. And it's a lot. Like hair has so much to do with, especially being Black. There are porosities, high porosity, low porosity. You have to know your hair. You have to know what things your hair needs, what things might. It's not the same
Wow.
for any of us. You just have to know your hair.
Right.
I would say I want to change the stigma for people with the more four type hair. They feel, I know I've heard a lot of them say like they don't feel as pretty, they don't feel as feminine, like they feel like it's people, or they get different type of attention when they have different hairstyles. For instance, if their hair was straight, they had a wig on, they're not getting the same type of men aren't walking up to them as if they have their real hair out. And they say that a lot.
Yeah.
Yes, they
And
say
it's interesting why women do it a certain way. Is it for, is it for themselves or is it for to attract, it's just interesting.
Right. Yeah, it's like, I'm sure a lot of women are doing it for themselves, but I'm sure some women may even like the way their hair is, not even just the forehead. There are people with hair like me who may just have been grown up around more Caucasians all their life, and they don't like their hair because the Caucasians were telling them your hair is straighten it, straighten it, straighten it.
Right. Social pressures.
I've even been around people, why don't you, or when my hair is straightened, your hair's so pretty, why don't you do it more? That's not a compliment. You didn't, because I like how my hair looks like when it's not like this. I don't want to keep it like this. And also, like I said, heat damage. I started out straightening my hair and my hair was ruined. I do TikTok. And I'm glad I have all these memories. I made a video from 2014 to now.
Whoops.
My battery had popped up. Can you see me now? Okay. So I made a video from, my hair was heat damaged. My ends were like, I was in a stage called transitioning. So my hair was curly because the new growth was coming out.
Yeah.
The new growth, sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's going on. The new growth was coming out and then it was straight because I straightened it so much. That really messed up my hair. And for a long time, I did not know what my hair looked like curly. Like I was growing up, I would get these curls back here though, and I would be so interested in it. But I would be like, oh my gosh, my hair, like my real hair must be so curly. Like, but I straightened so much. So a lot of women do the big chop. They chop all their hair and they grow it out to get
it all over. Right.
For me, my hair was always kind of on the longer side, so I didn't have to cut a lot. Well, I wasn't gonna cut a lot. I cut about right here.
Yeah.
And I still had some damage, but I cut a lot off. I let it grow. And all I did was I let it grow, cut, let it grow, cut, let it grow, cut.
It's kind of like trimming plants. Like you need to trim it and let it, that's how it grows better, right? You want
you cut off all the dead splittings.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that's how, and after that, eventually all my hair got natural. And I was like, wow, like I didn't even know my hair looked like this.
Yeah.
Because everybody wanted straight hair. So what I was saying with that is I would try to encourage not to, if you like your hair, don't worry about society standards, beauty standards. Learn to embrace our culture, our hair. It's something that a lot of people even want that they can't do. We can do a lot of things with our hair that a lot of people can't even do. Just being able to keep braids in it. I think I would definitely just encourage people to keep their values instilled and make sure they're doing what they want to do for themselves, not for somebody else.
Well said. And I think that, in our conversation about hair and how we started it, and you telling us about like why people originally kind of did the braids, and, so there's like the historical context, and then there's the individual context of who we are and what we want to embrace within ourselves. So that's like kind of like a nice metaphor of like even the film and how we're trying to say these are individual stories. This is our family story, but at the same time, it applies to a larger history that connects everybody. Everybody has those kind of resonating stories. So
yeah, I feel like you said, just from you doing the film, you found me and I mixed with, and I even know this, just from be able to know all of this, or
Yeah.
you just searching to find me, and you not being a person of color, not being scared to come find me, scared to talk to me, or
Yeah.
wanting to learn. Like I think a lot of people should want to learn more about things,
Yes.
just to have the knowledge, even if you don't want to get these hairstyles. Like, it's interesting to know where they originated from.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting. I have to confess that when I was in Hong Kong, I used to do my hair a lot because I was like in front of the camera a lot. And the stylist would try to be
Yeah.
nice. And I had hair extensions at one point where I had kind of like almost like an afro-like thing. And at
Yeah.
that time, it never crossed my mind of anything that was culturally insensitive. It just never occurred to me.
Yeah.
I think a lot of insensitivities come with a lack of knowledge, and and that comes with a lack of being kind of in tune with things around you and just reading up and
Yeah.
learning each other's places. So
Yeah, I definitely try not to prejudge anyone, because some people, like you said, they may not have known that it was
Yeah.
insensitive to people of color, or
Right.
it made them feel some type of way. As long as you're willing to learn and willing to adjust your lifestyle after that, then,
Yeah.
everyone might make a mistake. Everyone does things they shouldn't do. So
Yeah.
it doesn't bother me if someone does something at first, just as long as you're willing to learn and understand and educate yourself.
That's great. I hope
That's
people
all I
learn
would
from
say.
you. You have a lot of great thoughts, Asia. Good luck with your
Thank
whole
you.
hair thing. You've got so much potential with that. Good luck with
Thank
school.
you.
And I hope to see you sometime in the near future. This is
Thank
Asia,
you
my
so
cousin. So excited to talk to you.
Thank you, guys. It was nice talking to y'all.
Thanks.
Bye.